Tonight, Christian Amanpour of CNN on special assignment for 60 Minutes.
When the world's leaders gathered at the United Nations last week for a landmark meeting devoted just to children, their strongest condemnation was directed at those who have forced up to 300,000 children to fight their wars for them. And nowhere has this practice been more widespread than in the African country of Sierra Leone. For a decade, rebels from various factions abducted children as young as 6 years old and compelled them to take up arms against their government. 10 years of fighting are now over, but the scars from one of Africa's bloodiest civil wars still run deep. For 10 years during the civil war in Sierra Leone, thousands of teenagers and even young children were kidnapped by anti-government rebels from the Revolutionary United Front, known as the RUF. Children as young as 5 years old were forced to fight on the rebel side, and to keep them from escaping, their commanders branded them like cattle with their army's initials, RUF. Abu Kama was just 9 years old when the rebels abducted him and forced him to attack his own home.
So we took money, these, and
we took some money, property, and then burned the house.
That if I escape, then saw the mark.
I tried to escape, so they branded me with their marks. That way, if I go back to my family, they'll kill me.
I think for a lot of us, we didn't realize that the children actually had these marks because they were actually hiding them from us.
Roisin de Burke from UNICEF counseled thousands of child soldiers after their release by the anti-government rebels. What surprised her the most is that many of the children didn't want to go home because of the marks that were carved on their bodies.
What the children have been telling us is that they were taken into the middle of the camp and they were branded in front of others, and they were informed that if you try to escape, then the government troop would identify you as being part of us and you will be treated as a spy and they may kill you. So it was quite a brutal period in the lives of these children.
And that's what happened to many children who were accused of fighting against the government. Into this horror has come a plastic surgeon from Kansas City.
More instruments, okay?
He set up a field hospital where in the next 3 weeks he'll conduct and organize hundreds of operations to remove the children's debilitating stigma. It's a program that Dr. Jeff Colyer is starting up for America's International Medical Corps, a group of doctors who volunteer to work in the world's poorest and most dangerous places. You're a doctor, you've seen a lot of catastrophic wounds, you've had to treat a lot of terrible things. Does what you see here shock you?
I don't think you can ever accept the fact that you're taking children and branding them and forcing them to do terrible things. You put a brand on an animal to know where it is, to know where it goes. When it gets lost, you can bring it back. And that's what they were doing to the children. It's one thing to have a little scar. It's another one when that scar is what your destiny is.
Augusta's destiny was etched on her body when she was 13 years old, after she was taken prisoner by the same rebels who killed her father. When did the rebels scar you? When did they make that mark?
They wrote it on my chest in the school building where we were captured.
Can you tell me how they did it?
They cut me with a razor blade. They said if I cried out, they would kill me.
They look at you and you could see it in their eyes, and they're reliving those items in their eyes. And it's a very sad thing. God knows what they've been through.
Augusta refused to live with that shame, and so to erase the scars, she poured acid all over her chest. But she only succeeded in wounding herself even more deeply.
Imagine doing that to yourself. Imagine the shame and how much they want to get rid of this.
They can never get rid of the memories, but they will now get rid of the marks. What's on the agenda? How many do you have? What are you doing?
We usually operate about 6 or so a day. Kind of depends on the schedule. about 15, 20 kids a week. We come in first thing in the morning. Surgery usually starts at 8 o'clock. We're usually done about 3 in the afternoon.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot of
That's a
cases.
lot.
They're
Sounds
actually
like
pretty good.
Factory line.
Yeah.
But it's a very primitive factory where there's no electricity, just a generator that regularly breaks down. And where a kerosene burner and a pressure cooker sterilize the surgical equipment. It's a world away from home in Kansas City.
Oh my goodness, you're gonna break my nose. Okay.
You got her?
All right.
Jeff, you have taken unpaid leave from a successful plastic surgery practice in the United States. Why?
I want to make a difference.
At home, you do voluntary elective cosmetic surgery.
Sure. You're a challenge for me, girl. Unfortunately, that's how I pay the bills to come over and do this. But it also is something that teaches you to think, what am I going to do with these scars on these kids? How can I hide that RUF so nobody will know? Okay, you're going to have sweet dreams, okay? Sweet dreams.
As Mohammed drifts off under anesthesia, perhaps he's dreaming of what he told us about, of one day finding his family. He was captured by the rebels 5 years ago. They gouged their initials into his chest because he repeatedly tried to escape. Some of these children who you are treating and trying to give a future to have committed incredible, unbelievable atrocities themselves while the property of these rebels. Does that ever bother you?
Most of these kids, 95% of them, are normal kids forced to do the most unbelievable things. Yeah, there are some bad guys in this world, but I'm a doctor, and I'm a doctor first. And whether I'm in the emergency room in Kansas City or I'm here, I'm going to take care of a